Earth came into existence about 5 billion years ago, and Earth will exist for another 5 billion years until the sun expands massively and will finally swallow it. So it's roughly half time. Yet humans don't give Earth a half-time break. With our conscious minds and our technological skills, we're kind of hyperactive. We turn wildlands into cities. We blast billions of tons of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere every year. We drive thousands of species to extinction while creating new life forms with the help of gene technology. And a lot of people think that the changes we bring about, they will just go away. They will vanish over decades or centuries. But that's not true. What we do today is playing out on one of the longest timescales available, the geological timescale. So that's why I want to welcome you to the Anthropocene, or Age of Men. Officially, we still live in a geological epoch called the Holocene, the Holy New, and that stretches over the past 12,000 years since the end of the last ice age. And this Holocene was a fantastic time for civilization. It allowed us to grow and to spread globally and to thrive on technology and agriculture, science, medicine, and so on. But over the Holocene, really what we did was we acted like rebels against this greater force called nature. Now, 200 years only of industrialization have completely changed that. We make the Holocene world vanish fast. We already feel some nostalgia about Holocene places, like this old forest. That's why we like to go there. Something new is coming, and we call it the Anthropocene. And in this Anthropocene, we do realize nature is us. Here's the man who has coined this great word, Anthropocene, or Age of Men. 10 years ago, meet Paul Crutzen. He's a Nobel laureate in chemistry, and he's actually from Amsterdam. He's been born here in 1933, and he sends his warm regards to all of you here tonight. I talked to him about this talk, and he said it's great to have this Anthropocene topic in Amsterdam. And he's very proud that the Anthropocene idea, and it really was just one word he mentioned in a talk, is now spreading, becoming mainstream, as you see, and that actually a scientific body is examining the case for an official name change from Holocene, the official name of our time, to Anthropocene. So don't be surprised if one morning you wake up and you hear the morning news saying you now live in the Anthropocene, not in the Holocene anymore. This is what Anthropocene nature looks like. So you have industrial agriculture, you have burning rainforest in Brazil, you have the spreading cities, and you have some really fancy urban development. This is the nature of today. And actually, on the most fundamental scientific level, the word Anthropocene does not tell you whether this is good or bad. It's just a description of humans being the dominant force of change on Earth. But so far, a lot of the changes we are making will not really make us happy in the long run. We have altered 75% of the land surface, but a lot of that has already become degraded, polluted, infertile. As our carbon emissions make the atmospheric carbon concentrations rise, we really risk heating this planet beyond recognition. We use nitrogen as a fertilizer excessively, and we create dead zones in the oceans by that. And we send nuclear waste as like a projectile into the deep future. We now appropriate 90% of mammalian biomass. 10,000 years ago, this was 1%. Humans were 1% of mammalian biomass. Today, humans and their animals appropriate 90% of mammalian biomass on Earth. That's the Anthropocene. So my question is, can we make this Anthropocene period a fruitful period? And I think that the Anthropocene idea itself, that we are acting on a geological scale, on a long scale, will help us do that. Because if you take it for real, then every human being, including you and me, we are all part of like a daily, constant United Nations Earth Summit. Our lifestyles, our daily consumerism decisions, what we do or not do, shapes the future. And the Anthropocene, and that's what I really like about it, it affirms human presence on Earth. And that is very important because a lot of old environmentalism has done like we are intruders, we don't belong here. The Anthropocene makes us at home on Earth and gives us the chance to do so. Also, it's a long-term concept, and that helps us overcome like apocalyptic thinking, which is enshrined in Christianity, and also the eco-apocalyptic thinking, which classical environmentalism has followed, which is a kind of short-term ideology. And the Anthropocene creates this long-term framework for human evolution. It makes us conscious of our power to shape the future, from individuals to societies. And a good symbol for this long-term thinking for me is the clock you see here on the right-hand side. It's called the Long Now clock. And it ticks every 100 years. And every 1,000 years, there's a special sound. And one of them is actually now built in Texas. The founder of Amazon is building it. Obviously, it costs a lot of money. But it is realized. Really, we can't go back. Some environmentalism is very nostalgic, but we can't go back. And we don't want to go back in time to some safe haven in the past. I think the so-called good old times, they weren't really that good that we would like to kind of go back to them. So I think what we need is some positive, life-affirming futurism, a perhaps bio-futurism that allows our civilization to grow with the richness of nature and not at its cost. Perhaps with the help of bio-inspired technologies. What you see here is proteins that form the tunnels into a cell. Now, if you look at this video from the MIT Biovisions lab, you will see it, well, you will perhaps think it's a factory, but I really like what Rachel said, that it's the other way around, that factories we have today are very primitive forms of cells, not the other way around. They're not machines, but machines are very primitive cells. So, what you see here is not a piece of dust on the projector. It's us. It's a very fresh picture NASA has published. It's Earth and the Moon from 10 million kilometers away. As a species, we've been around for 250,000 years on this spot. So I'm wondering, is it perhaps our halftime now? Will we be around for another 250,000 years? It's possible. If that is so, how will our descendants look back on us? Will they think we were barbarians, which have ransacked their own home with all the negative environmental change we see today? Or will they think of us as something like planetary gardeners and stewards, which have prepared a fruitful soil for future open developments? As we are riding into this new age called the Anthropocene, the choice is ours. Thank you very much.